Hello folks and welcome back. On this episode we're going to cover winterizing our Casita travel trailer. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Now that we're going to winterize our Casita travel trailer, let's cover some of the items we're going to need to be able to do this. The first item here is going to be a biodegradable antifreeze for RVs. The next item that we're going to have here is going to be the wrench that we use to change out our filter on our water filter, and this is the type filter we use right here. The next item is going to be a new anode. We're going to need a wrench. We're going to need a air compressor. If you have this type of water filter, we would recommend just replacing it with a new one. This is going to be the insert for our type of water filter. And then we're also going to use this as a chance to remind us to replace our air filter on our air conditioning. And the final item you're going to need is the adapter that goes onto the water in for the trailer, city water in, so you can have a place to hook up your air compressor to blow down the lines. And I'll put links to all of these items in the description down below. Let's go ahead and get started here. And the first thing that we're going to do is drain our hot water heater. We need to open the temperature pressurization valve to relieve pressure on the tank. And then once we have that open, we're going to remove the anode down here at the bottom and let all the water drain out of the tank. This is a good chance to check your anode. If it needs to be replaced, this is the time to replace it. If not, put the old anode back in. We're going to use a 1 1/16 inch wrench to take our anode out. Just put it on a short extension on a socket, and then you're going to just back out the anode, break it loose, and then once you've got it loose, you can use your hands here to pull the anode out. Now be careful when you pull this anode out, because there's going to be a lot of water come out of this tank, and just go ahead and let it drain down. And you can see our anode looks good, so we'll just put new Teflon tape on it and put it back in at the end. Now that we have the water heater draining, let's go inside and prep it for winterizing the trailer. First thing we have to do is access this panel down here underneath the bed, and that's going to, once we open it up, that's going to be the back side of our water heater. And we're going to have to set it up by turning a valve. Now this T right here that you see on these blue lines is an actual valve. Normally the handle goes straight up and down for a normal service. We want to turn the handle in line with the pipes left and right, and that bypasses our water heater. Once we have those the water heater bypassed, we're ready to winterize. The only other thing we want to talk about down here is going to be the actual water pump. And we need to make sure that the line coming from the freshwater tank on the left there into the water pump is also drained. So what we're going to do is, once we blow down the system, we're going to turn this pump on momentarily to suck water out of that line that comes from the freshwater tank over here to the water pump, so that we can make sure that there's no water left in that line. And then the final thing that we need to do on the inside of the trailer is open a valve on our water system. You have to make sure a valve is open before we continue, otherwise you will overpressurize the system. Now that our water system is finished draining, we want to show you that we also have our dump tank hooked up to our trailer, and our black and gray valves are open, so that any water that we blow out of the system while we're winterizing it will drain out, and so our black and gray tanks will be completely empty also. At this point, we want to take our Schrader valve, we want to put it on our city water inlet, just screw it in there like you would a water hose, snug it up so it's tight, and then take the cover off the Schrader valve. The next thing we're going to do is hook our air pump up to that Schrader valve so we can begin to blow down our system. Now we're going to take our air compressor, we're going to hook it up to the Schrader valve just by screwing the output of your air compressor to the Schrader valve that you put on the adapter. And then we're going to take our compressor here, and we're going to hook the electrical of it up to our Jeep. We're just going to hook positive, positive, negative, negative. And before we turn this compressor on, you need to make sure you have at least one valve open inside that trailer. This compressor puts out enough pressure that it will damage your lines if the valves are closed by overpressurizing them. Well, we know we opened a valve because we showed you that just a minute ago, and we're going to turn the compressor on at this point. Now that we have the compressor running, let's go ahead and go inside. And as we come inside, you can hear the air and water coming out of the bathroom sink. And at this point, we're going to just open up more valves in the system. And we're going to go ahead and fast forward from this point. Just remember to always have a valve open, and we're going to cycle back and forth between the valves in the bathroom and the kitchen to blow all the water out. Don't forget to do your toilet also to blow all the water out of its line. And one thing you want to definitely do is make sure you do your wand for your shower. So we just blew all the water out of it. Now I'm going to turn on my water pump to suck the water out of that intake line to the water pump. And once I'm sure it's all dry, I'll go ahead and just turn my pump off. And back here on the back where we talked about the pump, if you look at it, when we first came in here, I could see water in the little pre-filter here, and now I see no water in there, which means that pumped it out. And you can see we're getting just straight air. So I'm going to shut these two valves. I'm going to go turn the pump off, and then I'll shut all the valves on the inside. Now that everything's blown out, we'll go ahead and turn our pump off and disconnect our pump from the trailer. Alright, let's go back in the trailer and shut everything up. Let's first off shut these two valves in the bathroom. That's the last two valves we had open. Next, we're going to go to our water heater, and we're going to return our bypass valve to normal operation, which means the tail of the valve or the handle of the valve will be pointed up and down, so that next spring, when we bring our trailer out of storage, we'll be set up and ready to go. And now we'll go ahead and put everything back like it goes, and then we'll go ahead and replace the air filters in our air conditioning unit, and we do it at this time as a reminder. And the air filters that we use are preset for this specific air conditioner. They're already cut to the right size, so they fit right in. And you just place them in there with the color side pointed up, and then put your cover back on. It just clicks in and out. And then once you finish this side, you do the other side. And now you have nice clean filters for next spring. At this point, we're going to head back outside and put the anode back in our water heater. We're replacing our anode with the original, so we just put new Teflon tape on it. Use our hand to hand tighten it in there first so we don't cross thread it. And then we use the socket by itself to tighten it up a little further. And then finally we'll use the ratchet to tighten it down to where it needs to be closed. And then we'll close the temperature and pressurization valve at the top and close the cover, and we're finished with it. Next we'll go over to our dump tank. And you can see the lines droop down here, which means there was some water that came out of the tank when we blew everything down. We'll go ahead and lift our line up here and let all that water drain out. And once we've got it all drained out, we'll go ahead and close our two valves here for the black tank and the gray tank. And then the final thing we'll do right here is put our cap back on our city water inlet. And then the next thing we'll do is, since we use a cartridge type water filter, is we'll prep it. First thing we'll do is take the bottom off, take our old filter out, and you can see it's got plenty of usage out of it. Then we'll dump the water out of the container, make sure it's dry, filter in, screw the top back onto it, and we're ready to go for next year. Now, like I said, if you have one of the disposable type filters, the little blue ones, go ahead and just replace it at this point and start out with a new filter next year. And the final thing we're going to do here is put antifreeze into the traps for the sinks and for the shower. And I use a biodegradable antifreeze here. We're not putting it into the drinking lines, but I want a biodegradable because it is going into the sewer system somewhere down the road. And all we're going to do at this point is just pour a little bit of antifreeze down each drain, and that allows the trap in there to have antifreeze in it so it won't freeze. Well, that completes our winterization of our Casita travel trailer. We hope this helps you out. I'll put links in the descriptions to all the items that we used. If you have any questions, feel free to drop us a line and I'll try to answer them for you. With that being said, we want to tell you we appreciate you watching and thank you very much for your support, and we'll see you in the campground.